A war that didn't just test the power, it tested the limits. And now a new concern is emerging from the battlefield. Ladies and gentlemen, for weeks the skies were active. Missiles flying, drones swarming, air defense systems working non-stop. But behind the scenes, something critical was happening. Stockpiles were shrinking, and they were shrinking really fast. Reports now suggest that in just a few weeks of intense conflict, the United States used a massive portion of its key missile reserves. Here we are talking about some of its most advanced system, by the way, long-range cruise missile, high-end air defense interceptor system designed for major wars. And they were being used again and again every single day, because the challenge, it was unlike anything seen before. Iran didn't just rely on high-end weapons. Instead, it changed the game with swarms of low-cost drones, waves after the waves. Can you think about the imbalance over here for a second? Well, a relatively cheap drone forcing the use of highly expensive interceptor missile. Each interception cost far more than the threat itself, and over time the gap, it adds up quickly. As the attack continued, pressure began to build, not just on the battlefield but on supply. Missile inventories, they started dropping. Efficiency became a concern, and planners had to start asking tough questions. How long can this be sustained? What happens if the conflict stretches beyond? Because, let's be honest, modern warfare is not just about firepower. It's about endurance, and endurance depends on the supply. Now, analysts are pointing to a key turning point. They believe that the strain on these resources may have influenced the strategic decision here, including the push towards de-escalation. And yes, at the very same time, concerns are growing far beyond just one conflict here, because if stockpiles are reduced this quickly, what happens in a larger or longer war? And this is where the ripple effects begin. Allies start watching closely. Israel, heavily dependent on layered air defense system, now faces its own concern about sustained protection in prolonged conflict scenarios. Because if the demand rises suddenly, the supply chain becomes critical. And in war, timing is everything. So the question is, what are we looking at? A temporary strain or a deeper vulnerability? Because this conflict has revealed something very important. The future of warfare is now changing. It is no longer about who has the most advanced weapons. It's about who can keep using them for the longest times. And sometimes the biggest pressure is not on the front line, it is behind them, in storage, in supply, and in sustainability.